All right, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're going to be getting started very shortly with part 1 of the South Sea Mercenary League Grand Finals. I say part 1 because we're going to have part 2 tomorrow. We've got our first series today between Alric Ral and Berserk. Randomize the brackets from the positions of the, qualifiers so that we would have some more parity and sort of unpredictability and everything. Yeah, we've got now Krabbling versus Gotrek, Berserk versus Alric Ral. So we're going to be doing Berserk versus Alric Ral in the bottom bracket today. I screwed up with Gotrek scheduling. He's available tomorrow, so we'll be doing Gotrek versus Krabbling tomorrow, and then the grand final with the winner of these two matches. So, yes, big thanks to everyone who's been sticking with me all this time. It's been a while since I've done any streaming, and the tournament series, yeah, just kind of bunch of stuff happened. If you watched my video yesterday, you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I had to focus on some other things in my life, but here we are, finally ready to let these competitors rip it and get some blood against each other. I should note, we are still using the land battles with caps. One of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons for the delay is I was hoping that Conquest would be addressed. Creative Assembly would fix Conquest so that it would be usable in a more competitive tournament format like this. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the updates and improvements to Conquest that we would have liked to have seen yet. Not to mention, this mod does include the fruit rules unit rules in its unit caps, which makes things pretty easy to manage from a tournament perspective. Yeah, but all that being said, we're today on land battles with caps, and it's Greenskins for Berserk. If I can switch on over to the scoreboard here and the bracket. Whoop, that's not right. It's not a clan war anymore. Let me fix that. Let's see here, just a second. Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, like I said, it's been too long since I've had the opportunity to stream, but just to give you guys a breakdown of the picks, yeah, Berserk banned Beastmen, Tomb Kings. Alric also banned Beastmen and Dwarfs. So we've got Greenskins versus Bretonnia, Classic Humans versus Orcs grudge match, and it looks like they're ready to get started right now. So let's jump on in, and we'll get things rolling. Conquest doesn't really offer anything for competitive. See, I strongly disagree, Shiggy Diggy, and that's what you say players have gotten used to fruit rules. Yes, like the fruit rules, attacking rules, sure, but recently I've seen a lot of discussion about the subjectivity of such rules, and this has always been the case, right? Even since Warhammer 1, Warhammer 2, these rules, attacking rules, white line camping, whatever else, forest camping, a lot of these rules, the way they're written, the way they're implemented, by necessity, involve judgment calls, right? Still a barrier to entry, true, looming, exactly. Still a barrier to entry, and it involves some judgment calls, potential for bias. That's why, for me, something that removes all potential of bias, or even accusations of bias, from the equation, the more I can do to further that, the better, right? Because I want to take the decision as much as possible out of human hands into the game's hands, where it will just decide A or B based on an objective, right? Which I think Conquest land battles with caps solves a big issue. Now, you still need the unit limits, certainly, and, there has been discussion with Creative Assembly at certain points about possibly just implementing the fruit rules limits, and being more willing to kind of play with the unit caps on a more regular basis. Remains to be seen if that is something that Creative Assembly has the resources to implement, especially given their new focus on the mid-patch updates, bringing a lot of content in with that, especially on the campaign side. Something that is absolutely better for the health of the game, unmistakably. And it is absolutely, you know, we have to remind ourselves, even here in multiplayer, the vast majority of people are still playing campaign in this game, right? So it makes sense for Creative Assembly to deploy their resources in such a manner. Unfortunately, it does mean that we haven't gotten some of the multiplayer updates, like, again, updates to Conquest that we probably needed to. But, you know, that's all a discussion for another day. Today we're here to celebrate these competitors and watch them tear into each other here. Yeah, it will be quite the battle here. Berserk playing the Greenskins, Alric playing the Bretonnians, and we do see here a Alberic, Wild Alberic coming in with a nice AoE anti-large to juice up those Royal Hippogriff Knights. We've got some Yeomen for light cavalry and some Knights of the Realm. Looks like 4 of them. Provide some standard heavy cavalry. Front of peasant mobs with some men-at-arms. Peasant bows with pox arrows. Yeah, some regular peasant bows to pad out the cost. And it's pretty standard stuff, all very good. I do like the little cheeky goblin ambush being prepared here by the Greenskins. Got a few Spider Rider archers, which, while they're great for applying poison, they are pretty poor units, honestly, in terms of their damage output and cost effectiveness. I'm pretty low on Greenskin skirmish cavalry right now, especially Spider Riders with their lower model count. Their damage is just absolutely abysmal. But, hey, you can't get it all. We've also got the War Boss here, very meta pick right now with his double ability here. Well, the anti-large ability also very applicable in this matchup, of course. We've also got some Goblin Spears, very good now in this matchup. Nice cheap spears to pad out your numbers. Got some Boy Biggins, 2 of them. And some Savages over here with the Shaman, Orc Air Boys, and the Night Goblin Archers. Not the Rusty Airs, interestingly enough, the non-ROR variant. And we've also got, again, non-ROR Trolls here, just the regular Stone Trolls. But yes, the Spider, or the Wolf Riders here, hidden in the corners of the map, going to be deployed immediately. The one, at least, to do some scouting and some harassment of the backline, trying to potentially get after those Peasant Arrows. You see Berserk immediately maneuvering like one of his Spider Rider Archers to try and capture the objective here. Of course, it is different from Conquest, so the objective is going to capture very quickly. But, yeah, attack rolls often lead to controversial situations. This has always been the case in land battles. Yes, it's exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like here, they're gonna do a very minor amount of damage and start to poison Alberic, right? Just kind of control his movements a little bit and try and debuff like his weapon strength and so on, which again makes sense. And it's not necessarily a bad pick. It's just even at their low cost, they're really not going to pay for themselves. Even if they're shooting reasonably high value targets, their missile damage is very poor and they really don't have a lot of ammunition. So I guess they do +1 AP damage compared to Wolf Riders, yes, but Wolf Riders also have significantly more unit models, so, like, against unarmored targets, they're actually better DPS, especially for the cost. If you were to literally measure, like, the gold you're paying for each arrow, I'd be curious. The extra unit models and the lesser cost means that the Wolf Riders might be better spent in that front. But again, you don't get the poison, which tactically quite useful against Bretonnia. But Berserk here set himself up nicely. This map is pretty interesting. It's kind of got like 2 opposing hills with this sort of low ground here in the center. So we'll see how the players kind of contest this. But it does look like right now we've got one Knight of the Realm still chilling there, trying to decide how they want to attack this. Both players know each other very well. Alric told me they've been practicing together, so it should be an interesting battle. When you know your opponent's sort of tendencies, when you've been playing with them a lot, it can tend to lead to some really close and interesting games. So yeah, so far both players keeping it patient. Yeah, if you can get a 500 gold, yeah, to be worth 650, sure, it's good. It is true. And it's not, tactical value is hard to define sometimes, right? Like, if you can do, make your opponent do less damage. Like, it's hard to quantify exactly in terms of raw numbers how much that would be, but I'm just saying in terms of damage output, like, the Spider Riders are not going to cut it. So they do need to do something else, right, tactically or whatever, to pay for themselves. But here, they're kind of absorbing some archer fire as they advance. A little bit of a magic poke here from Berserk, as both players just kind of content to skirmish for now. Let their archers kind of weaken each other. But we're going to see a Broken Tusk Mob. That's a big, expensive unit to be doing a little hit and run here, trying to draw out some units. Yep, looks like he does draw... Ooh, maybe not Albric fully into a charge there. Yeah, you don't want to spend skirmish fire on chaff to begin with, it's true, but shooting, like, let's say, enemy skirmish cavalry, for example, right? That's a pretty good and common target for, like, Wolf Riders and Spider Riders, right? Shooting something like Marauder Horsemen, let's say, in any of the Monogods or Chaos matchups. That's a super, super common interaction, right? And that is one where that little bit of extra damage from Wolf Riders and a little bit of extra cost effectiveness does help. But, ooh, nice little Fanatics here being unleashed. Will it actually overrun and get into the archers? It kind of clipped through the edge there a little bit. We're going to see another Brain Burst, I think, from the Shaman here. He's basically just trying to do as much damage as he can to the archers before the engagement kicks off. But, yeah, interesting. Had some nice damage there to those peasant archers. So one unit of archers pretty much already been dealt with. But again, cost-wise, really not the best spend in the world. But let's see here. Nasty Skulkers kind of lurking as well. You could try and bring the pressure, of course, with the Wolf Riders at the same time. But, yeah, looks like kind of sliding over left towards the objective. Does look like we're going to get an engagement relatively soon here. Berserk's done a really good job, though, of avoiding taking bad engagements so far with his boars. It's super important in this matchup for the Greenskins, for their anti-large cavalry to not get into unfavorable situations. Because the Bretonnians can heal and recover their cavalry, they have a lot more likelihood of... Ooh, look at this. Really nice Fanatics cast and a Fermented Fungi just pulling this unit of Knights of the Realm into the Goblin Spears. Did some nice little burst damage with the Fanatics there. Greenskins archers unloading, and we see the Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins now countercharging in as we've got an engagement with Goblins. Peasants in the front line. Archers from both sides firing in as the Knights kind of cycle in and out. One unit leaving, the other unit charging in. Albric with his trident, giving a nice anti-large buff in this big AoE. Yeah, Berserk's got to be careful. He's got the less forgiving army, certainly, with the Greenskins. So he's got to be aware of not taking too many bad engagements. That Fermented Fungi was good, but what that does mean is he doesn't have it available on the Hippogriffs when they charge in. They're going to get a nice rear charge here and absolutely smash this unit of boars. We'll see if the Trolls' leadership is able to hold for now. It looks like they are doing so, but Wolf Riders coming in to kind of run some distraction, kind of pull some of this elite, or at least mid-tier cavalry away, while the Greenskins try and get more favorable engagements, like here against this Knight of the Realm. That's a pretty good engagement. Yeah, the Boar Boy Biggins are able to win out pretty decisively, the Broken Tusk Mob, but Albric does come in to kind of change the nature of that fight. That extra anti-large bonus and his own large splash attacks will change things. It does look like the Trolls also got savaged over time. The regrowth there on the Royal Hippogriff Knights, healing them up. Wah kicking in a little bit late, as a lot of the Greenskins units are already having leadership issues. And value-wise, they're basically neck and neck, but I would think Bretonnia is probably going to start taking a little bit of a lead here soon. But, oh yeah, the Hippogriffs, man, they charged in and they just took a huge burst. The Fermented Fungi being saved for them. Once they're in combat, debuffing their melee defense significantly. They're trapped up here against these Savage Orc, Boar Boy Biggins, the Goblin Spears, and the Greenskins are starting to come back. This is when Greenskins often get very dangerous, when, you know, your army gets very spread out against them. Spider Riders out of ammunition being used very well tactically as kind of a buffer here. They're going to eat the charge and also keep those knights pinned in with their poison and speed. But potential for extreme danger here as Albrecht charges down. The men-at-arms and everything else can be frozen by a Tormentor Sword as the Goblin Warboss escapes. Fight another day. Speaking of escaping, Trolls escaped to recover their HP, and now a lot of Greenskins units collapsing all on this one unit of Knights. As in the background, we've got nice chasing of routing units here by Berserk with those Wolf Riders. But, yeah, it's definitely nice back and forth so far. I think Alric is, again, a little bit of an advantage here, mainly due to the fact that he has healing based on the damage dealt, but certainly, oh yeah, another bad situation too, as the Night Goblin Warboss gets punched pretty hard by Albrecht. The returning Hippogriffs also come in for a huge terror rout, just absolutely bust this entire pocket. The Greenskins leadership comes back to absolutely haunt them. That's going to shoot Alric out in front by about 1,000 damage value or so. Wolf Riders coming in, trying their best to clean up these archers. Got Spider Riders still hanging around as well, but all the key units for the Greenskins, all their sort of win conditions, yep, being broken in a big old rout right there. There we go. There we go. And that's going to be a victory for Alric. Bretonnia coming in strong, just ultra wide with a few Hippogriffs. I love the pick of Albrecht too, honestly. Like, you know, you see so much Lewin lately. Lewin is so strong, but I really love the pick of Albrecht to give anti-large to everything in the AoE. Yeah, really nice pick, to be honest. Helps peasants double their damage value, which is awesome. For Berserk, I mean, he went for a very kind of traditional Greenskins build. Unfortunately, just had a little bit of problems here in, yeah, just, I mean, he's facing a very, very tough opponent. Alric's definitely quite good, so, yeah. Yeah, the Gobbo Spears are reasonably cost-effective. They pretty much all pay for themselves, but, yeah, it's tough. It is a decently tough matchup for the Greenskins. Like, they have some tools for sure, but, yeah, the terror and the healing of Bretonnia makes it tough at times. Yeah, Albrecht has some good utility versus low leadership also. Very true. Very, very true. And that AoE damage, too, he can bring is also, yeah, decent against some, like, trying to clear out some chaff like goblins, right? Absolutely an ideal target for them, so. Yeah, Greenskins do have a way to counter knights, but... yeah. Albrecht does a great job of helping his knights deal with trolls, definitely. And even, like, I don't know, I'd be curious. I haven't played that matchup a ton since the spears came out, but I'd be curious to see if you went with, like, double Bobbin and, like, a caster lord, maybe, and then just went, like, literally as much anti-large infantry as you could afford. Like, take, like, 4 goblin spears, like, 4 orc boy spears, maybe 4 biggins. Maybe round out with some Boarboy Biggins. I have to look at the cost of that. It might be overcosted already. But, yeah, basically you just have the double Bob as infantry to give your spears immune to psychology. And then you just take, like, as many anti-large infantry as you can fit into a single army. You do forego the fungi by doing that, which is super strong, especially for limiting the cycle charging of something like Hippogriffs, as we saw there. So that is a consideration. You know, maybe you actually take Skarsnik or the Warboss. I would actually say, against Bretonnia, I'd probably go Skarsnik specifically, even though the Tormentor Sword is really good. Skarsnik's anti-large himself and charge defense, and he doesn't get knocked over, which means he's actually surprisingly tough. He can be for those charging air lords to take on. If they do get a good engagement, maybe a side charge and get a couple of quick attacks, he will take the full brunt of the damage rather than being knocked over. So that is also something to consider. But yeah, I don't know. I'd have to kind of theory craft around a little bit, maybe play a few matches and see. But maybe, like, you know, Skarsnik, 1 Bob, and yeah, and then whatever caster. I don't even know at that point, but yeah, I don't think Greenskins spears really change the matchup, but Yeah, the Greenskins, the the spears are also low leadership that they have a hard time in a situation like that, right? Where they're just gonna get terror routed away. But yeah, the Orc Boys spears mass. And actually, Orc Boy spears are in an interesting position where their offensive stats are good enough that they could probably beat most Bretonnian infantry outside of, like pilgrims and foot squires, right? So they could beat up on any men-at-arms unit, no problem. And, peasant mobs, so yeah. Seems potential for some good stuff there. But again, I haven't played it enough myself to know. But there you go. Yep, looks like we've got Alric banned Beastmen Dwarfs and Berserk banned Empire Beastmen. We did have some global bans as well. I don't know if they listed those. But anyway, that's fine. We've got Wood Elves versus Grand Cathay. So let me update the scoreboard here. And we'll put a point on for Alric's Bretonnia. And then let's go here. Wood Elves. Very interesting choice. Wood Elves are much improved from recent patches. And definitely in a very solid place right now, especially if you are, high micro like these competitors are. But let's see here. I believe this is just best of 3. Yes, best of 3. And then we've got... And Cathay, yes, for Berserk. Grand Cathay's also historically been one of the best land battle factions of all time. Nothing's really changed there. Still is excellent. There we go. Need more black orcs. Yeah, the thing you look for in Orc Boy Spears is, again, they're gonna beat all Bretonnian infantry, so whereas the Goblin Spears definitely will not. Like, they'll lose out to certain units of men-at-arms, like men-at-arms swords, for example, right? So what else feel like the underdogs here? Don't know if the Jade Warrior nerfs changed that. I think they probably did, and I think some of the buffs to Wood Elves also might have affected things. I mean, we'll definitely have to wait and see. The range trade is an interesting one because, Swift Shiver Shards are very good, but you've also got, shields on the Cathay side, so... Yeah, Grand Cathay versus Wood Elves. Interesting matchup, for sure, for sure. Durthu, interesting. Durthu's a beast. That makes sense. That would also stand a reason, then, that the regiment, if you're afraid of Durthu, the Regiment of Renown Celestial Crossbows would be a good counter. They are super expensive and hard to protect, though, so understandable if that's not an option against the Wood Elves. Like, they seem like they are Whale Watcher bait, for sure. Yeah, Durthu's new ability, too, where he removes magic damage from melee threats, basically. It's very, very good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Both these matchups, I mean, Greenskins versus Bretonnia is classic. That's a matchup that has existed for a long time. It's evolved over a long time. This is definitely one that I guess, personally, I don't have that much experience in playing. I'm not a big Wood Elf player. I play them occasionally, but I'm also not a big Cathay player, so two factions that are kind of low on my play list. Haven't really, yeah, don't have a lot of experience myself here in this matchup, so I'll be curious to see how this goes. Block of Doom, Sword of Daith. Yeah, I could see that being very devastating for like a stationary kind of Cathay formation for sure. Just want Greenskins to hijack a regular Grail Relic that provides some leadership like the Stolen Tanks. That's amazing. You can't bring Iron Hails, Celestial Crossbows in this matchup. Yeah, that makes sense. Iron Hails, cannons. Yeah, because they'll just get sniped by Wood Elves, right? Yeah, the cannons, I mean, the cannon crews are super vulnerable to just getting shot by archers. I'd imagine they're very tough to protect from something like Swift Shiver Shards. But let's see. Let's see what they can do. Definitely an interesting matchup. I mean, the 4 Swift Shiver Shards definitely makes a lot of sense here. Yeah, the Heroes Destroyer cannons. We do have the 1 Waystalker with Arrows of Kurnos. Can also, yep, as we saw, destroy the cannons. Very appropriate map for the Wood Elves as well. Yeah, we don't see any of that long-range stuff from Cathay. A lot of shielded crossbows, from what I saw. So, should be interesting. Think Berserk goes for the right build, but it's still a hard matchup. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see why. So, I'm curious to see how the game plays out. It'll be a little bit to load in here, but we can admire this beautiful community-made map. I will say the one thing also about Conquest is, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they actually made a version, did they? Maybe not, made a version of this where the community maps are basically implemented for Conquest. I don't know, I'd have to double check with you, Maze, if that might not be the case, but... Yes, because Vertical Cliff, due to one of the changes they've made, like, those multi-missile attacks now spread their damage, right? They don't just overkill one model, which they actually spread the damage out between a unit, which makes something like Gaze of Nagash a lot more effective shooting at an infantry, and especially from the front. Granted, that spell specifically is probably not one you still want to be taking. That's for other reasons with the vampire counts, but again, those multi-missile attacks abilities do much better now, and like will snipe, yes, multiple artillery models potentially. Depends if they all contact, if they do good damage, everything else, but yes, the Waystalkers, Arrow of Kurnos here can spread its damage around much better, yes. So, that's something to be aware of. We got a high Spellweaver here, along with some Wild Riders. Tempests? No, just like Soul Quench and Apotheosis. Got the Swift Shiver Shards. And then, yeah, Wild Riders here hidden in the woods. A couple of Hagbane tips. So it's going to be a very sort of spread, unorthodox deployment. You can see that Berserk's response here is very interesting. A lot of mobility, massive amounts of Jade Lancers, Peasant Horsemen. He's got some Crowmen mixed in here, of course. Alchemist with just Searing Doom and actually a couple of buffs here. The melee attack and the armor buffs. Super interesting, actually. Along with Searing Doom. Okay, so this Alchemist is actually fairly well kitted out. That is very interesting. Dragon-Blooded Shugengan Lord as well. We've got Jade Shield, Dragon's Breath, Jade Amulet as well. And some Peasant Long Spears. We've got the crossbows with shields, of course. And, yeah. Yeah, a lot of mobility here. Jade Lancers, Peasant Horsemen, a lot of mobility. Which makes sense, given the situation. How does Krokgar's Hand of the Gods do nowadays? It's good, for sure. Yeah, only destroying one piece is, 25% of the damage. It's true, so it's it's really good. Yes, basically, Hand of the Gods is Shem's Burning Gaze with the extra projectiles. That is correct, Caradoc. Bardock.
The dragons are watching us. In battle, we shall demonstrate our reverence.
Nah, I mean, that's just the one thing too, right? Like, Arrows of Kurnos, but then this guy himself, right, the Waystalker, also has 300 range. So he can move it, or sorry, yeah, 190? What? Oh no, I was thinking of a Lithanar. 190 is not that long, but even still, he can get in range to kind of poke the artillery with his own bow. And, you know, Arrows of Kurnos might have damage to the unit models where they get destroyed super easily, or, you know, another archer unit, Way Watchers, Swift Shiver Shards, they can, again, also get close, use their bows to fire 1 or 2 volleys and just kill the cannon crews. Yes, it's, Arrows of Kurnos, definitely a thing. Ooh, those Peasant Horsemen gonna take some volleys as they capture the objective here, try and pull some of these Wild Riders out of position. And see Berserk is slowly advancing across the field here. We do see 1 arrow, so okay, let's watch it spread. Okay, so a few of the missiles still landed in the same place, but one of them at least spread to the right side and did some extra damage there on those Jade Lancers. Pulls a good 7 unit models off. Not too bad. A little over 10% of the unit. Not crazy amount of value, but yeah, it's like 80 value. Not bad. Considering Arrows of Kurnos is what, like 200? He uses all 3 in such a manner, it will pay for itself. But also picking away at some of these Onyx Chromen here. Alric with his long range poke, kind of getting some good value here so far. Use a nice Dragon's Breath. Got the Shugengan Lord doing a little bit of HP damage on those Wild Riders. From Berserk's perspective, his win conditions definitely, you know, shutting down the Wild Riders so that his own mobility can potentially go after those archers, or even just trying to trade from a ranged perspective. Again, the shields in the range here is super interesting because Deepwood Scouts actually have 5 less range technically than the crossbows do. The crossbows also have shields, but then the Deepwood Scouts just have way more DPS with their double shots, so it's an interesting one. But ooh, we got a little Wizards Caster Lord duel here, up in the sky. Spellweaver and the Shugengan duking it out. Shugengan getting some good hits, but forcing the Spellweaver to use an Apotheosis there to heal herself. Both characters actually pretty peer opponents. Well, the Shugengan Lord's just better actually in a lot of ways. Like consistently, yeah, 10 HP, or sorry, 10 attack, 10 defense, 50 extra weapon strength, extra 40 armor. So definitely not a fight the Spellweaver wants to take without support, but that wasn't terrible. Let's see here. Let's see if Berserk starts to get a little bit too aggressive, or Waystalker is in some danger here. But also, Peasant Horseman soaking some of this damage of the Swift Shiver Shards is alright. I mean, they're a pretty cheap unit, and the Swift Shiver Shards, the ammo they have used, really hasn't netted individually much value on their units. Let's see. Yes. So, Jade Lancers, Onyx Chromen. Nice little, ooh, good Soul Quench there. Lands in the middle of those Jade Crossbowmen. Wow, kills 15 unit models. That is pretty impressive stuff. So it seems like this is going to be very much kind of a skirmish-oriented game. I mean, definitely from the way Alric constructed his build. He wants it to be a skirmish-oriented game, but a nice Jade Shield there as those Jade Warriors eat that charge. The Wild Rider's going to eat an Apotheosis in response, and quite a bit of damage from those Jade Lancers. But the Jade Lancers maybe could try and push here. And, yeah, I mean, I guess he does have visibility on these Wild Riders in the woods, but Berserk could try and, like, push forward and kind of drive a wedge right here, isolate these units on this side, and then clear them out before kind of wheeling around, but right now, both players just kind of focusing the engagement on the objective. This Wild Rider's definitely taking a beating. They're not very high armor unit. Meanwhile, over here, the Jade, or the Hagbane tips come out of the woods, and they're just going to start working through some of this infantry here, easily routing that unit of long spears. And with the one local Wild Rider kind of dealt with, the Jade Lancers are going to pretty much pay for themselves on a charge here with a nice hit on those Swift Shiver Shards. Oh, looks like they're maybe going to pull back. Jade Shield on them as they charge directly in. They're still going to take a beating, but managed to dish out some pain in return. All said and done, that Jade Lancer hasn't paid for themselves in terms of raw value. This one also, a double envelopment here as the other Wild Rider comes to roost. A lot of damage being done too by the Swift Shiver Shards, all dumping their ammo focused in this engagement. So what initially looked pretty decent for Cathay is quickly going to turn against them. But, yeah, both players basically neck and neck in terms of damage value right now. But, again, Berserk trying to use that positioning to his advantage a little bit, try and isolate some of these units and use that mobility to try and shut down. It does look like he's got some Peasant Horsemen. Nope, they are going to get absolutely gatted down by the Swift Shiver Shards, or they can prevail. Some Wild Riders kind of being hung out to dry a little bit here, but that's okay. The crossbows, so far, looks like they've been trading a little bit against these Glade Guards out there in the distance, but let's see. Definitely anyone's game still. Ooh, nice arrows of Kurnos going to land right in those Jade Lancers. Does some pretty good damage firing into the back there. And it looks like Alric might try and give an engagement here. He feels like he has an advantage with the Glade Riders plus the Wild Riders into the Jade Lancers, especially in the woods here. We're going to see another Jade Shield to try and shrug off some of that damage. Another, ooh, really nice Dragon's Breath. Does some great damage on those Glade Riders, but the key here, from a win condition perspective, is Alric is working through all of Berserk's mobility, and Berserk, yeah, he's still got some stuff left, right? He's going to deploy this Peasant Horseman here from the woods. He's still got some Jade Lancers here in the back, so both players preserving some mobility while also committing quite a bit to this engagement over here on the side. Ooh, Shugengan Lord dropped into that engagement. That is a super risky play here for Berserk, but will it actually end up paying off? He gets a couple of big hits on the Spellweaver there, but the supporting Onyx Crowman, oh yeah, the Shugengan's in huge trouble right now. And the loss of the Lord at this point in the battle would be fairly devastating. There's not a lot of quick response forces available to come in and try and help, so let's see. Ooh, Searing Doom from that Alchemist. That is a really nice response. That's going to do some great damage to the Wild Riders. Is not going to be enough, I don't think, to save the Shugengan. Another desperate Jade Shield there, 51% with the Spell Mastery. That's a lot of damage resistance. Some of the Wild Riders do manage to peel there, and it looks like the Shugengan probably will survive this. Wow. Very impressive stuff. Berserk being able to use all of his resources to try and preserve his Lord's life there. But yeah, Elixir of Iron also, that armor buff from the Alchemist coming in pretty clutch there as well. But given how low the HP is now, yeah, we'll see a little Soul Quench there as Alric tries to finish the job. Really not going to do much in terms of damage. And during that time, Berserk was actually able to start value trading ahead on gold damage value, so really interesting stuff right now. This is going to be quite the game. Oh no, but will Berserk notice? This guy's kind of chilling here, juking on the charge, maybe trying to bait Alric down onto the ground where his Jade Lancers can help. Definitely would be advantageous, but yeah, going back to the main battle here, well, we and Alric have been focused on that part of the battle. Berserk has been pushing up his crossbows, getting some nice damage on these Swift Shiver Shards, getting some good value trades in the ranged fight, having some damage on that Waystalker. So pretty good stuff right now. Blade Riders gonna get taken out there. Shugengan Lord does a nice little quick duck and dodge and dive. Does another Jade Shield. Pretty risky to take this engagement. But at the same time, the Jade Shield, yeah, you can see it does mitigate quite a bit of that damage, but even still, a decent amount does get through, so it's certainly a risky play. And especially because Jade Shield doesn't last that long, but Croman gonna be sent in as the reinforcement here, and yeah, Berserk, again, hard lands. Well, he has the support of those Jade Lancers, but let's see if Alric has enough meat to actually get through here. It looks like Alric is kind of just getting ground down as he's not able to get through all of this, Peasant Long Spear chaff. He's got a limited amount of ammunition left, starting to run low on some of these Swift Shiver Shards, so he really needs to get the Lord Snipe if he can to change the leadership situation, so that he can more easily try and rout these units, but oh, he does get the hits on the Shugengun enough to rout her. Will it be enough to chase her off is the question. It also means that the Spellweaver gets pulled onto the ground, and I'm not sure Alric has the tools to help escape like what we saw with the Alchemist, dropping that beautiful Searing Doom. Meanwhile, yeah, the Cathay and Lines just holding, doing their thing. Stone and Steel absorbing some shots. I mean, Peasant Long Spears, this stage in the battle, eating the Swift Shiver Shards is actually extremely good for Cathay. But yeah, things flipped. Berserk's pretty far ahead on the balance of power, so to speak, on the damage value, over 2,000 points in his favor, so hello, welcome. Good to see you, Romulan. Yeah, Berserk was able to get down all of the mobility here of the Wood Elves. Everything except this one last Wild Rider. Will it be enough? The Tactical Reserve Wild Rider making its attack run here. Impacts this unit of Jade Lancers, but no. Alric will throw in the towel there. Yeah, I don't know if he forgot about that unit of Wild Riders. Definitely could have been useful earlier on in the battle, but very nice game. For sure, so good stuff. Yeah, Berserk able to just Stone and Steel, hold with those Jade Crossbows. Like I said, the shields and the ranged advantage come in big. They're able to prevail over the Swift Shiver Shards. Yeah, Jade Lancers also doing a nice job protecting, dying, and charging, and doing all their things. Nice mid-tier cavalry unit, honestly. Very much does the job that Cathay needs them to, so good stuff, and that's going to get us even on the series 1-1, so now it comes down to this. Game 3. Exactly what we wanted. Oh boy, do I love me a series. Let's see what they do for their final faction picks. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's been a pleasure. Romulan Dog, great to see you. This proves I have no idea how to play Warhammer 3. Man, I'll tell you what. It's definitely a thing, multiplayer. and it's amazing to me, I'm quite rusty right now. Haven't really been playing much over the past few months. If I were to jump in, these guys would absolutely beat me down. But it's amazing to me, like, even at the height of my skill, like, I would go in and play, like, Felcon, for example, right? One of the best players, if not the best player in Warhammer 2. And, like, I was pretty good at that time, but he would just put me through the ringer every single time. It's like, okay, there's people who are just a lot better than me at this. I definitely understand that feeling. Like, but, yeah, when you have that feeling of being very good, man, that's such a great feeling. I was actually just playing like a super quick test battle against the AI this morning, just to make sure that the mod was working properly and that we weren't going to have any issues on that front. And yeah, honestly, I've been doing a lot of other things over the past couple months. Haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to playing multiplayer, especially. But the game's still so much fun, man. There's just so many good and satisfying things about playing battles, especially against another human. But yeah, it's a great way to humble yourself too. If you think you're hot stuff, and you you think you're hot stuff, and think you're all high and mighty, and then you just get absolutely leveled in like 2.5 minutes. It's some crazy build. Like, okay, all right, maybe I'm not the hot stuff. It's good. Good for the mind once in a while to get beat down. But I'm going to go grab a drink of water and run a quick YouTube ad. So apologies, but, you know, gotta do these things. Sit tight. I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. It's a nice reminder to all of you guys out there, stay hydrated as well. Want anyone getting too thirsty out there. Oh, yes. Hey, Imperialist Gondola, always a pleasure. Appreciate you stumping for likes out there. That jumped it up quite a bit. So thanks to Imperialist Gondola. Thanks to all of you for coming out, watching, enjoying the games. Yeah, honestly, I'm very grateful that I get to do this for fun and that this is not my full-time job. Like, you know, I have a lot of respect for people like Turin, you know, who choose to make this their full-time gig. You know, obviously my views are just not there right now. And even at their peak, arguably, it wasn't, I mean, if I could have sustained, like, the Immortal Empires bump, for example, right? Maybe. But even still, like, you know, for myself, for my wife, and for my, you know, potential future children, like, it's just in my best interest to try make as much money as possible. Not that I'm a greedy guy, but, like, I just want to be able to take care of, you know, people as I need to. So for me to have this be a kind of thing I can do for fun, it does pay a little bit. You know, it's an extra few $100 a month, I won't lie, which is nice. It definitely helps. You know, it helps me especially kind of justify the time I spend on my channel to, you know, my wife and other people in my family. Like, hey, you know, I got to do this. Sorry, I can't go to that thing, but this is really important for me to do just because, you know, I enjoy it. And also, again, the money's nice too. But yeah, just I'm grateful that for me, it doesn't have to have the stress of being my only source of income. I can just, you know, do it for fun and enjoy the community and enjoy all of you. Honestly, you guys are the reason why I'm still doing this. You know, the community and all the amazing people that I've been able to connect with, and like I see, you know, all the kind comments come through on my videos, and that, you know, the likes and everything just lifts me up, makes me feel good about what I'm doing, and makes me want to keep doing it. So thank you all so much. It's been my pleasure. So let's keep it rolling here. Looks like, Nurgle versus Dark Elves. Boy, oh boy, that's... Oh yeah, looks like Alric banned Tomb King's Beastmen, and Berserk banned Empire Beastmen. So everybody hates Centaurs. Makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm assuming, like, Kislev was probably a global ban, since we haven't seen them at all. But, yeah, Dark Elves versus Nurgle. Super interesting choices. Yeah, it's definitely a matchup. Definitely a matchup. So let me get the scoreboard updated with their new factions. Alric with the Dark Elves, Berserk with Nurgle. Nurgle blessed me last weekend. This time I was flat on my back, like dying, basically. Not really, but I was quite sick. And, yeah. Just got a lot extra sleep last weekend, which was great. And now we're here, feeling much better. Like, probably 90% better. Still a little bit of lingering weirdness, but that's okay. There we go. Yes, Nurgle versus Dark Elves. So sort of thinking through this matchup a little bit. Obviously, from Nurgle's perspective, it's kind of Chaos Warriors in a way, with some extra additions, right? Lots of healing and sustainability. How are you going to shut down the crossbows is a consideration. You could potentially, if there's not enough missile DPS, just heal through it. The crossbows have relatively short range, so could potentially try and rush them down, or yeah, the Soul Grinder actually might be a decent pick here, but you might also see a surprise Bolt Thrower pick. I could actually see Bolt Throwers, especially if you spread them out, being reasonably decent here for the Dark Elves. 4 Bolt Throwers, spread them out, try and kind of pull Nurgle apart, give constant DPS on high-value targets, like if a Kugath is brought. I would think Kugath probably not, just because he's so risky here. But, yeah, like my gut instinct tells me Dark Elves might have a slight advantage here from a more well-balanced roster, but I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't... If I were a betting man, I might only bet a small amount of money on that. Much appreciated. Let's see here. Just going through, looking at some things. Yes. Yes. Looking good. Pestigors, Furies, Dogs, Chaos Knights. Yeah. Pestigors for sure. Yeah, the Pestigors seem like a very solid shot in this matchup. And kind of a more mobility focused, as you're sort of saying here. Dogs, Knights, Furies, Pestigors. Definitely an all-out blitz. Question is, from a Lord choice, I would think you'd probably just see a Nurgle Sorcerer Lord for cost effectiveness. Yeah, for the Dark Elves, will we see a big Dragon Lord? That's the question. Since there's really not much, missile downside to taking, like, Malekith on the Dragon, he is very expensive. Might we see that, or might we see something else? Hard to say. Oh, yes. Got some big plans for some stuff coming up. Trying to decide how I want to present it. Yeah, I have some non-Warhammer related projects going on behind the scenes. Yeah, some non-Warhammer related stuff, like I said. Hopefully, I'll have something ready to publish by the end of the month, and if that's the case, then you will see something on the channel about it. I'm honestly thinking of starting maybe, like, some spin-off channels, honestly. Let you guys who are here in the chat, I guess you can give me your feedback. That'll be a small aspect of it, but what do you guys think? I've experimented with putting other games and other content on my channel. We've done a little bit of Age of Wonders, a little bit of Civ. Unfortunately, Realms of Ruin really didn't pick up like I wanted it to. Otherwise, I'd probably still be covering that one. But Yeah, I mean, generally, when it's been, like, Realms of Ruin did pretty good on the channel initially, right? Whereas something like Age of Wonders, you know, maybe didn't perform as well on the channel, which, you know, is fine. But a part of it also is, like, you know, how much do I want to do here, or keep this focused only on Warhammer? It would maybe also benefit me to try and branch out on the main channel and show some other things, but for the D&D stuff specifically is what I'm talking about, right? I'm working on some sort of D&D related projects behind the scenes, especially with the new rules update that just came out, the player's handbook at least. I've been thinking for the D&D stuff specifically, I might want to make a second channel specifically focused on D&D, and I might still do other video games on this channel, but we'll keep it mostly Warhammer with maybe the occasional, you know, like Space Marines. I've been considering picking up Space Marines, right? Space Marines 2, because it looks pretty good. It's, you know, on Warhammer theme. Definitely is a fun game that I know a lot of people are playing, so I don't know. You guys will have to let me know your thoughts about that. A lot of you loyalist fans out here who are currently watching the stream. No pesties, very unusual. Yeah, let's talk about the builds, though. We do see the Sorcerer Lord, as mentioned. Yeah, these are Marauders. They're not Pestigors. Very interesting choice. We got some Horsemen and Throwing Axes and some regular Marauders. Chaos Knights. And some Warhounds. Ooh, one unit of Rot Knights, too. And some Plague Toads. So, interesting. Definitely interesting. A lot of mobility, as we predicted, but not exactly what we predicted here. No pesties. Yeah, we're doing it live. That's right. We've got Cold One Knights. Plenty of them spread around. We've got some Repeater Crossbows, a Key Witch Elf here in the sweep. We've got some Dread Spears. Yeah, Dark Riders out on the side. And it's like a Dark Sorceress. Rather than spending on Malekith, makes sense. Supreme Sorceress is more cost effective. But, oh yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing. Between, you know, D&D's been on a tear recently, honestly. Between how good Baldur's Gate was, the D&D movie, while it wasn't the biggest commercial success, also, you know, kind of drew some attention to it. Why is the resolution so milky? I'm not sure. Hey, Ryan G, did you see Turn's worst MP units video? It made some really good points about Spawn being good in theory, but being overcosted and overshadowed. I did, actually, not watch the full thing. I saw a little bit of it. I know he just released his units that need to be buffed as well. He's been doing a couple videos like that recently, but definitely, I mean, spawns, it's weird because the Tzeentch spawns are arguably, like, really good, actually, with their armor sundering, and like the Tzeentch spawns probably don't need much in the way of buffs. Like, they're close enough to being very good that it's probably fine. The other spawns, I would largely agree, like, they're good in theory and in specific matchups, but they probably just need a little bit more either HP or weapon strength to just really help them kind of sing. I would definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount of units that need some help right now in this game. Just thinking about from an Empire's perspective, I know Empire's top tier faction right now, probably don't need a lot of buffs, but in terms of their units that are not very good, Reiksguard are one that could probably use a little bit of an update, just something to help them stand out and have a more clearly defined role rather than just more expensive Empire Knights. But we do get a nice engagement playing out here. Looks like Alric getting real aggressive, just straight into the Hounds, trying to decisively change this mobility game immediately. We do see the Rot Knights charging in. Ooh, they're going to take a little volley from the Repeater Crossbows, but do manage to land on a rear charge. I might have actually switched them onto the Repeater Crossbows there at the last second. They probably have the charge speed to actually catch them at that close of range, but regardless, they get into the Cold One Knights and absolutely shred them. The Sorcerer Lord is also on the Rot Beast himself, which means he's going to be contributing some armor-piercing splash damage into an engagement like this. A big thanks for the fiver, of course, Ryan, always. And thanks for the question as well. Yeah, Marauders charging in here. They're going to help counteract some of these Cold One Knights. Marauders supporting Knights is definitely a nasty combination in a mobility game. Lots of armor piercing and heavy armor and just nastiness, disgusting, Nurgle, etc. But yeah, Alric also pushing. He's got a lot of mobility here. Some of the spheres being a little bit left behind, though. And like the Witch Elves have an opportunity to come in here and absolutely blend through a bunch of these Marauders very quickly without the Nurgle supports, like no Plague Toads especially. The Plague Toads on the Witch Elves is going to be very cost-effective engagement for the Toads, as long as the Witch Elves don't have their fully juiced-up Witch Brew active. But instead, they're swinging far out to this left side. I'm not really sure. Maybe looking to help this mobility engagement, perhaps. But Alric let himself get a little bit separated here, where a number of his mobility units, and especially those expensive Cold One Knights, get, you know, away from the main body of his army where they can get support, and Berserk's able to kind of defeat them in detail here. Yeah, we do see the dragon responding, though. Real nice breath attack, just blowing up one of these units of Marauders. The Witch Elves hanging back for now, not wanting to eat a charge from those Chaos Knights. Maybe it's just holding them in reserve until the late game here to try and clean up. But I would think, I mean, the Dread Spear's just kind of getting slowly ground down. I would think you'd want to run in the Witch Elves to do some anti-infantry work here. But let's see. Looks like they are going to perhaps be deployed. A little swing and a miss there on that Plague Breath. At least forces Dark Riders to move. You see a Soul Sealer there hitting those Chaos Knights. So Alric trying to kind of slow things down a little bit. He does get Murderous Prowess right now, though, which is going to be a big power spike. You can see, yeah, Berserk just pulls back. I kind of love this move, actually. That is a pro gamer move. Just like, okay, Murderous Prowess active, time to go. Let's just retreat. And, you know, kind of get rid of as much of this uptime as possible. Of course, some of these units are going to get a little bit caught up, but, I mean, largely they're going to be faster than... Oh, he does use Curse of the Slug here, actually, to slow down the center, like these Witch Elves and other units that were pursuing some of his... like Marauders and whatnot, but he is able to reorganize his forces enough to where he can get these mobility units in a position to at least try and maybe bail out and, you know, support some of these Marauders. Some of them are routing, some of them are just tactically repositioning. They're all moving in the same direction, so that's fine. Yeah, well, part of the thing is that, you know, Tzeentch ones have an insanely good contact effect, which is armor sundering. And then the other ones are just kind of cheap and cost-effective, right? And I think even like the Beastman ones, not that you see them a ton, but they have poison, right? Which, again, good contact effect. For whatever reason, they went back and said, like, oh, you know the thing that makes those other spawns unique? Yeah, let's remove, like, the majority of them. Like, the Khorne ones used to have higher weapon strength, right? I honestly think if they were to restore some of those traits, like, give the Khorne spawn higher weapon strength, that would actually go a long way to helping. Maybe make the Nurgle, have the Nurgle spawn have, again, extra HP, even though they already have poison as well. Yeah, maybe give the Beastmen ones some other kind of benefit, but Alric, at this point, has been able to stabilize. He's been able to kind of pull his forces back together, keep his crossbows kind of in a more traditional skirmish position, just basically being on horseback, but able to reposition quickly if they need to, but kind of keeping them, you know, in a more traditional, just with his lines here, able to support his infantry. But, yeah, both players... Curse of the Slug. Yeah, I love it. Great spell name for sure. Yeah, they're able to reposition and kind of reassess. Alric's slightly ahead in terms of damage value right now, but of course he's facing Nurgle, who can heal through it, if any other faction can. But let's see, the Supreme Sorceress going to drop down, try and pull the Rot Beasts away, but again, this is sort of what I was saying at the beginning. The Rot Knights have a fast enough charge speed. They can actually get in, do some damage to the repeater crossbows, force them away. That means that the Sorcerer Lord is actually getting a decent engagement against the Sorceress of the Dark Magic. But let's see here. Ooh, a big old nasty. Oh, that's disgusting. Fleshy Abundance hitting like most of Nurgle's remaining army. That's what he was waiting for. Now all these units can push forward and try and get some work done. These Dark Rider repeater crossbows are a little bit too close in here, but the Witch Elves do pop their Witch Brew finally in a full engagement here. They've got lots of stuff happening, but Berserk was able to pretty much negate all of Murderous Prowess. He did not take the engagement while Murderous Prowess was active, so that's pretty good stuff. Rot Knights charging in. Gonna see a nice Plague Breath here, doing some good AoE damage, so Nurgle definitely looking to punch back here hard, but Alric's force is not going down without a fight. Obviously, they're going to continue as hard as they can here. We've got the Toads in, a terror route for the Rot Knights, and just terror in general for Nurgle will be a factor as the Dragon Sorceress is here fighting her best, absolutely scrapping. Yeah, the Rot Knights being so low on health and leadership makes it tough for them to actually come in and kill the dragon, which is, you know, something they're going to need to do. Let's see the Sorcerer. Yeah, the Nurgle Sorcerer with support here is probably the best bet for the Plague Bros to take out the Supreme Sorceress, but at this point, the crossbows have been able to set and shoot fairly effectively, getting some really nice damage in, and Berserk, I don't know if he really has a good response for this at this time. Soul Stealer again on the Rot Knights as the Supreme Sorceress tries to sustain herself against the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord. It does look like she might be able to escape there from the Plague Toads, and the Sorcerer gets momentarily distracted fighting other things. Yeah, she kind of waddles over to terror out these Marauders and everything else, and then the Toads just die to demonic instability. That said, though, I mean, there's still plenty of knights aboard. Still got the Sorcerer himself is a force to be reckoned with. Gets a really nice Pestilent Breath there. Or no, I always get that one confused. That's the Skaven one. What is it? Stream of Corruption. That's right. I don't know why I can never remember that one. Probably because my stream is Corruption. But anyway, jokes aside here, we see Berserk trying to quickly just cap that objective. He's managed to keep the damage valuations pretty close, which again, due to Nurgle's healing, might actually favor him into this late game. But let's see here, the Rot Knights punch out. They're going to try and get the last unit of Cold One Knights down, or maybe charge into these repeater crossbows. Looks like the Dragon actually just charges the Rot Knights directly. Very bold choice, but definitely the right one to just get rid of a big threat like that directly, so they can't countercharge you on the ground. The few remaining Nurgle Knights are doing their best to harass the Dark Repeater Crossbows, but the Repeater Crossbows have used up most of their ammunition and have dealt with pretty much all of the targets that they need to. At this point, Berserk's going to be left with just about only his Lord left, and it looks like Alric's probably got this one wrapped. We'll see. It's definitely not completely done yet, but it's not looking great right now for Berserk. Let's see here. Got that poison going. He's got his Nurgle Sorcerer Lord going here, but let's see. Yeah, with the Dragon, with the anti-large cavalry and support, should be enough here. Dragon's going to make her approach, try and attack the Nurgle Sorcerer Lord. He does have 66 melee defense, though, which is just absolutely massive. You see her just whiffing on her attacks here. I don't know. I guess there's a possibility this Nurgle Sorcerer Lord could kind of carry this late game for himself. But let's see. Got some tattered units still hanging around here. Yeah, we're going to see a Soul Stealer. That will be some nice direct damage. Won't be blockable by the melee defense. Cold One Knights coming in for a surround, and I think this is probably it for Zerk. He put up a valiant fight. Maybe not, though. I mean, he does get his Rot Knights in here to support. The rest of these Dark Elf units kind of caught a little bit out of position. Yeah, the Rot Knights look like they're pretty much done for. Did some good damage on the Cold One Knights, but also got punched by their own anti-large armor piercing in return. And that's it. Alric will carry it. So there it is. Alric with a victory on 2-1. On the best of 3 will move on to the next round. Congratulations to him, which is, of course, the finals. So if we take a look at the bracket here, Alric moves up, and he will face the winner of Crabling versus Gotrek. We are going to have to do those games tomorrow, unfortunately, because I screwed up some of the scheduling. We don't have... Gotrek's not available today to play his games. He will be available tomorrow, though, as will Crabling. So we're going to take a roughly 23-hour, I should say, 23-hour intermission. We'll be back tomorrow with, Crabling versus Gotrek, and then the winner of that will be facing Alric Ral in the grand final. So, yeah, what a beautiful game. What a beautiful game, beautiful series. Thanks to the competitors. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for coming out. It's just part one, because I I screwed up the scheduling again. It was totally my fault. Gotrek let me know earlier in the week, like, hey, Saturday morning doesn't work for me, and I just completely missed the message. So that's on me. But we will be picking this back up tomorrow for the grand final. The grand final. So, Dark Elves still competitive despite no updates in a long time. Impressive. They're honestly one of the best rosters. Like, in terms of balanced factions, they're definitely, like, have consistently, historically been just a really solidly constructed roster. Have all their bases covered. Hit every single unit type. Definitely fun. But anyway, that's it for today. Thank you all so much. We'll, I know. I know it's a tease, but that just means you guys will have to come back for tomorrow. That just means you get a full weekend of Dog Plays stream, huh? Yeah, Berserk played his best game. Alric also played super well. Very well played to both players, honestly. So thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.